TGIO, thank God it's over. Is it over, or is it just beginning?
Well, one nightmare is over. Another is about to begin.
Those like you who are willing to call out the president face to face by name and saying this is not who we are as a nation. And I would say to you and to everybody like you, consider coming over.
Let me ask you.
We need to stay in the Republican Party.
But you've already gone.
Because no, actually, I was a Republican when the president you support was a Democrat. And I was a Republican when the president you support was an independent.
If you're a Republican, I'm Luis Fonsi.
Maybe you are Luis Fonsi. You can start singing Despacito here. But I am a Republican. I supported Ronald Reagan. I've supported every single Republican nominee for president.
And donated to every.
So has the president. Yeah, I supported Bob Menendez.
Debbie
You know what? So did Jared Kushner. So did Charlie Kushner. So did Donald Trump.
Right.
Okay. So that doesn't bother you?
No, it doesn't.
You know
bother
how to spell
me.
hypocrisy? Or should I spell it out for you?
I'm just telling you that what all this charge of racism against
Donald Trump supported Nancy Pelosi. Donald Trump had Hillary Clinton at his wedding. Donald Trump had Bill Clinton at his wedding. And you're going to accuse me?
I'm just telling you, you don't represent the Republican view anymore. You haven't for quite some time.
I proudly do not represent the Trumpist view.
You guys are going to have a little different comments than Tom Bossert had about that GIF. Let's look at it again. This happened just as we were ending our other roundtable. Okay, Anna, I gotta start with you.
I'm a CNN commentator. I think that is unacceptable. I think that is the President of the United States taking things way too far. It is an incitement to violence. He is going to get somebody killed in the media. Maybe that will stop him. I am disappointed beyond belief by the answer that the Homeland Security advisor just gave. What a wuss. What a wuss. You could see that he is ceding his principles. You are the Homeland Security advisor and you can't stand here and say the difference between right and wrong. That's what's part of the problem. He is surrounded by enablers that do nothing but shake their heads and nod their heads in agreement with everything that he says. They have got to stop. They have got to stand for democracy, for freedom of the press. This is just going way too far. The President of the United States is inciting violence against the free press. And America, we cannot stand for it.
I mean, it is just kind of theater of the absurd, right? I don't think any of us would have thought that this is something that the president, any president, would do. But in particular, it just comes, as you mentioned, right after the shooting of Steve Scalise. Republicans and Democrats said it's time to take the rhetoric down a notch, and this clearly does not do that.
And everyone that we spoke to on the Hill right after that incident said the president was actually quite good on that stage. He was reassuring. He called for the country to get together. He gave a really good speech and visited the hospital to see Steve Scalise. And now this. Listen, I know a lot of people who work for CNN who have to be scared and wondering why the president has decided to physically pummel somebody with the CNN logo on his face. So it'd be interesting to get some reaction.
Nobody at CNN is scared. If anything, this is making each and every one of us more resolute, not to cower at the bullying of this president. This is a free press. This is a free country. This is a democracy. And if he thinks that with these little tricks, he's going to scare Jeff Zucker, he's going to scare anybody at CNN, he's got something different coming. We are resolute at continuing searching the truth, speaking the truth, and calling out right versus wrong.
And be deadly when we protect.
Why don't you guys? Let me ask you something. I've always wanted to ask somebody this. Hey,
first of all,
go ahead. Make your point. Make your point.
First of all, Andrew Gillum does not want to eliminate ICE. This is actually an issue I talked to him about. It is a Republican talking point. I think he'd like to see ICE change, and I think he'd like to see the focus be on deporting criminals. But listen, for the last 10 days, we have seen a president that has lied about this caravan, said this caravan is full of Middle Easterns, code for terrorists, is sending thousands and thousands of unnecessary troops to a border when the caravan is almost 1,000 miles away, has put out a racist ad demonizing immigrants over and over again, is talking about eliminating birthright citizenship. It does not take a genius to figure out that what he is doing is just milking the hell out of the immigration issue as a wedge issue, rising up racism, rising up distress and angst over the invasion of the brown people coming coming from the South.
I won't let you get away with that because listen, if America were a white nation and we refused to have immigrants who were brown, then you would be onto something. But that's not the case. We are a multiracial, multi-ethnic, amazing democracy, and we have a right.
Funny that all these ads demonizing people are not about people that came through the Canadian border.
And we have a right to defend our borders, and we have a right to decide who should come in, not based on color, based on their skills, on their love of our values, of our Constitution. And that's what Trump wants, and that's what we haven't had, though, Chris. Here's the thing. We have tolerated, if not encouraged, illegal immigration for decades in this country because it worked for elites. It worked for Democratic elites who wanted votes and amnesty. It worked for Republican elites who wanted cheap labor.
Works for the agro-economy.
Who wanted cheap labor.
They're your
and
pickers.
The president
they're your
came
cheap
in,
laborers, and you don't go after those people because they're your buddies. So you demonize the workers.
Listen, I'm saying that both sides, Republicans and Democrats, were to blame. The president saw this and stepped into that gap in 2016 and said, we are going to get control of immigration in this country. It doesn't make sense for our national security,
but he can do that, and he doesn't have to talk
security.
about these people. You know, like, look, if you really wanted to round all these people up and deal with sanctuary cities, put a ton more money into ICE and enforcement, and then you wouldn't have to use the local authorities the way you do. But he's playing a different game. He's playing a game that goes to the demagoguery. I know you don't, and that's okay. That's why I have you here.
But Chris,
I gotta go, so hurry up.
Because you come from the presupposition that he's racist, and so then it logically follows what you're saying.
Don't cheapen the logic of what he does. Just follow what he says, when he says it, and why he says it. Make your own judgment. I'll never have to color someone.
I think he's racist. He called Mexicans criminals and
defending American citizens no matter what color they are,
El Salvador and Haiti shitholes. Sign me up in the category of the people who think he's racist. He has said so many racist things.
When you don't want to talk policy, you call him a racist. It's the scarlet R now.
We gotta go. We'll take it up again after the election.
Mexicans are racist, are criminals and rapists. El Salvador and Haiti are shitholes. He is a racist pig.
Donald Trump. There are 0 Latino cabinet nominees. Does that matter? Is that important? I think this is the first time since 1988 that there has.
It's the first time since Ronald Reagan that no president has appointed a Latino to a cabinet. It's disappointing in many ways. I think it's very important for there to be a representative cabinet. I think it's so important for little boys and girls who are Latinos, who are African Americans, to look up to people who are in these positions and who have this platform and this pulpit. I think it's so important for communities to feel represented and they have a seat at the table. I think it's important to hear from the different perspectives. There are different perspectives. It is very, very different to be an immigrant than it is to be a poor African American or a rich white person. And so, you know, and then today I hear my friend Sean Spicer say, you know, it's not about appointing somebody because they're one ethnic group.
Let me read the
quote.
That's what I was going to. Sean Spicer said, "quote that there is a quote." He said on the cabinet there is a quote diversity in thinking and a diversity of ideology. So it's not just about skin color or ethnic heritage.
And he said, and it's about the best and brightest. Do not tell me that Latinos are 17% of the United States, and there are not among us best and brightest.
Jeff?
78% of Republicans are supporting Trump. 90% of Democrats are supporting Clinton.
Anna,
you want to talk facts?
First of
That's
all,
a fact.
Okay,
I want to apologize to you for being a millennial. I know millennials aren't allowed to have opinions in this day and age. I was working on campaigns.
Can we bring up the level?
Let me talk. Let me play my old ancient Stradivarius for you.
I think the fact that this panel has descended into very vitriolic ad hominem attacks when the statistics are brought up, when the numbers are brought up, when you don't have facts to retort to my facts.
I just reported to your facts. 78% of Republicans are supporting Donald Trump. 90% of Democrats are supporting
the violin. And
why would you help us in that support? Why are you working against to get Hillary Clinton?
It's a fact when you make up polls. It's not a fact when I quote polls.
Well, but why are you helping Hillary?